Hey guys, Russ Frushtick here. The other week I had the chance to speak to Edmund McMillen, the creator of Binding of Isaac. Normally I would cut the interview down, but there were so many interesting parts about the past, present, and future of the series that I thought you might appreciate hearing the whole thing. So without further ado...
Maybe this is a tricky question. Is this the end of your work on Binding of Isaac? Are you done with Binding of Isaac as you see it?
It's hard to be done with the game, but as of right now, no, I'm never done.
Because I wanted to talk to you, because obviously, so this fifth booster pack came out, and you guys did this pretty ambitious idea of bringing together all of the community members and people that have loved the game and made their own mods for the game, and putting that stuff in the final version of the game so that people that weren't super tapped into the mod community were still getting these benefits.
Yeah.
And you've sort of capped things off with what is unquestionably the largest of the boosters with this fifth booster pack, which just came out earlier this week. Is this what you had in mind when you guys decided, okay, this is something we're going to do? Is this the scale of the effort that you guys had in mind?
No, no. I mean, I had a pipe dream of at the end of the year, maybe we'll introduce this character that I wanted to do.
Sure.
As a little extra bonus if all goes well. But initially, the booster packs were literally something that I asked Tyrone. I'm like, hey, what if people make really cool stuff and we can put it officially in the game? I thought that would just be really cool for people. How cool would it would encourage people to make cooler stuff because there's a chance for it to officially be in the game.
Sure.
Even though within the first couple months, any mod that you did could officially run, and you could play it freely without having to turn anything off or whatever else, disable things. So it was oh, that'd be cool. And then he's like, yeah, we can do that. And I'm like, okay, cool. And then I said, well, we'll do a year's worth of booster packs. And I'd hope that we would be able to put, a few items up a month and we could do monthly booster packs.
Sure.
And then by the second month after release, we were just completing the first booster pack. And I technically didn't understand that you couldn't just take those items and pluck them out and then put them in the game. They actually had to be individually ported and tuned because a lot of the items themselves were they had issues,
overpowered or
no, it just programming issues that had major conflicts with other elements that caused bugs that needed to be tuned and fixed. So a lot of the items were completely remade, and then a lot of the art was a little rough. It's you don't want to be insulting, but it's you
Sure.
got to be able to improve some aspects when it's official and stuff like that. And so we did that.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I got to imagine everyone was, but anyone that you were, you reached out to them, you're like, hey, we're going to use this, would be thrilled no matter whether you made changes or not. That seems like a huge thrill for someone.
But yeah, there was definitely a bunch of issues that I hadn't foreseen in at all. I just simply didn't have a great technical understanding of exactly how this would all go down. And we only had one person, Adrian, who was the lead programmer on Afterbirth Plus, to do all this stuff. So it ended up taking a lot longer than I thought. And then I always wanted to include at least one item from me in each of these packs.
Sure.
And which took a little bit extra time too. And then we had to get an artist to do that. And for the first four packs, by the third pack, it was felt like we kind of bit off more than we could chew. And it's it's coming every 2 or 3 months, we put a booster pack up, and it's great. People really loved it. But it just wasn't what it didn't seem like people wanted more and more and more. And I didn't want to, let people down. So I thought, well, maybe we could work with more of the community. And Antibirth had come out a month or two before, I think.
Yeah.
Afterbirth Plus, and I right away got in contact with Vin, who is the lead designer and programmer for the whole project, and he has such a great mind for Isaac related things, and we were trying to find some way to work with him, and it took a few months of back and forth to try to get him on board, and be like, hey, well, you to help us with this stuff, and maybe you and Nick, who ended up doing some of the art and a lot of the rooms for Anti-Birth, you guys can just go nuts and do any kind of improvements that you feel like the community would really love, or any kind of new additions or art or anything like that. Like, just jump in and see what can be done.
Yeah.
And by Booster 4, they were totally in and had done a bunch of work. And then, of course, like anything I work on, it's like, I want to do more.
Yes.
Like, I want to go bigger, and I want it to go out with a bang. And I really wanted to like close the book. And I had hoped that the last booster pack came out for Christmas. That was what I wanted.
Right.
But it's just, it ended up being more ambitious. And the cool thing is Vin is as ambitious, if not more than I am. So like, he bit off as much as he could possibly chew and just went nuts and did, a good 5 months worth of improvements to the game, outside of, helping me tune a secret thing.
It does sort of seem like he was his own, like, obviously you were working with him, but like he's kind of a juggernaut, like his own QA team in and of himself in a lot of ways.
Well, because basically he was that. Like, Anti-Birth was what he thought would improve the game.
Right.
Like, and we got to kind of go back and forth on that. And it's kind of interesting. And I'm not talking down to anybody who's worked on the project or anybody before me and anything like that, like Florian and that sort of stuff. Like, but it's difficult for me to know exactly technically what's going on behind the scenes because I'm not a programmer.
Right.
And when I give instruction or basic direction, sometimes stuff gets lost in translation, or sometimes stuff just gets done a specific way that they think that things should be done. And over the years, I've found, like, as it's been handed down from Florian to Simon to Hadrian and to now to Vin, like, when a new programmer jumps in, I get a bunch of like, did you intend this? Did you intend this?
Sure,
and it's like, well, no. And it's with each person, it's with each new iteration of a different programmer. They come with their own spin on how things should be done or how things could be improved, or and all that. And the cool thing with Vin is that he's an artist and a programmer, so he has an eye for both, and so he could really kind of just jump in and be like, do you think it would be cooler if this, did you intend for this? Do you like the way this looks? That sort of stuff too. And I got to go down the list and basically have a second set of eyes that are as critical as mine.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting to look at all the changes that are, like, obviously that Vin was working on with Anti-Birth, but also everything that's in Booster Pack 5. And it sort of makes me look back, and I'm sure you as well, look back at Isaac, even before Rebirth, but like at the origins of it, and like to look at it as a project that could possibly scale as large as this is, which is to say, I don't know the current item count or the like total enemy count right now, but you're talking probably 800 items, something like that.
Oh no, it's like 550.
550, but still, I mean, like,
might as well be 800 though.
Right.
Like,
so like, it's like, was this, I mean, I know that like, it seems hard for me to imagine that you could possibly envision something like a game at the outset that could possibly scale to this level. And how much of is the fact that like breaking the game is part of it, like, allows for that? Is that clear?
It is like, it is such a mess. Like, it's such organized chaos.
Yeah.
Like that over time, like, I mean, I felt like if you would have told me that the Binding of Isaac was going to be the most successful thing that I'll ever do, which is quite, I'm sure that that's going to be it. Like, Binding of Isaac is the peak of my career. But if you would have told me that from the beginning, and then you're like, how could you take this game that you've done with 108 items, I think initially, and whatever else was there, and how could you turn this into this huge thing? I would just say more content, because it is designed in a way that allows for a hugely bloated amount of content.
Sure.
The more you go, though, the more dangerous things become, because there are, even though it's organized chaos, you have to balance the chaos a little bit,
Right.
and you get into a situation where the shell that you initially built this thing in is falling apart, and you're just kind of taping it together, and it goes much further than the technical aspect of things like simply not speaking to each other well, but into the realm of like how can I take the story in a different direction? Like how can I add more content, but also don't destroy the more concise vision, that the initial game had, and how can I allow for others to add to this without having conflict with what was going on initially, and you kind of make sacrifices as you go. I mean, I've been able to add and basically hold. It's kind of like my behind the scenes thoughts. Like one day I would like to do a sequel to The Binding of Isaac. And there are certain elements of the game's design that I would want to hold for a sequel, because I don't want to introduce whole new mechanics. I would have to rewrite the game. That would change everything, and also lose something cool that I could possibly do in the future.
Sure.
And as the years have gone by, I've just dropped pieces of what I envision as a sequel into the game as we've kind of gone.
What's an example of like something that
the secret in the booster pack?
Oh, sure.
That is something that thematically was more appropriate for a sequel, because I feel like I could almost speak candidly about it at this point, because Reddit is just full of like spoilers.
If anyone cares about the game at this point, they probably already know. Like
the trailer, like in the information for the trailer, it said a secret character, so we know it's a secret character. Sure. But like I wanted to do a secret character that played like a cutscene that attached itself to the ARG that I did last time. Like I wanted it to be the bookend to the ARG's story. Mm-hmm. So it was like a fun way for me to basically say, Isaac's body still exists and its soul can't leave, because it's not it hasn't been buried on hollowed ground or whatever. Like his soul is stuck, and it opens a lot of different ways to tell the story, mm-hmm. and different pathways to go. And that's where I kind of wanted to go in the future. And it's something that I've been dropping hints for years. Like the skeletal character, the cutscenes, they have all alluded the stages of decay, like from Blue Baby, to the Lost, to the Keeper, to the Forgotten. Like it's all part of a story that I'm trying to tell through characters and themes. And and that's kind of where it's like, well, where can I take this? Where can it go? How much more can I push? And how much do I want to save for something bigger in the future? And I just kind of, it's hard to not work on. Like it's still so fun. Like it's still so fun. And I think it's still so fun because so many other people are still so excited about it. Sure. It seems weird though. I don't even know how many years has it been, like 7 years?
It's outrageous.
And it's like 7 years of updates. And you'd think that people would be like really fucking tired by now, but they're not. And it's just, I mean, I can't say I blame them, because I'm right with them. Like it's a really cool thing, and it's really easy to be inspired by the community to keep going. I expected to get sick of it, but I'm not, and I'd be lying if I didn't have, if I said I didn't have pages and pages of designs for more Isaac stuff and more Isaac themes and different ways to go. It's just it's fun. I guess it's kind of like it's almost like an artistic medium for me at this point, where I get to do different things. Like the ARG was just so cool, and it was so fun to do, and it was such like a little side art project, something that I wasn't being paid to do and wasn't making money off of, but I got to do it to interact with the community, and utilize something that I made to kind of expand it in a non-traditional way. And in the same way, the free update is pretty much akin to that, where like I want to do some abstract storytelling with a character, just some
Right.
themes. Like I want the player to play as a skeletal character whose soul is chained to it, and I want that to speak more than a cutscene.
And that's sort of what I find fascinating, is because like I think what grabs people with Isaac initially, and this was certainly the case for me, is the gameplay, right? You're like engaged with the loop of it, the like roguelike loop of it, which is I'm gonna just keep playing and playing and playing. And then the like subtle story elements slowly rolling in, and the more you play, once you get 50, 100, 200 hours into it, like the fact that keeps churning through your brain in the background, like do you find that the story to be like what keeps you bringing back, or is it the gameplay, or is it just 50-50?
It's 50-50 for me still, because there's still so much more there, that there's so much untapped. There's just so much cool stuff. I mean, like with Catholicism in general, there's just so much there, like so many creative, just bizarre, abstract, neat things that are allegory. You know, they tell a story, they tell a tale indirectly, and you know, I really think games encapsulate that, at least the way that I kind of write games, and that's what I'm trying to do. And like Isaac is the perfect avenue to do so. Like it's inspiring, and I've kind of set up this kind of environment that allows to literally just keep packing it in and letting it grow, like
and in non-traditional storytelling way, like ordinarily you'd have whatever dialogue trees and right, and obviously you've used cutscenes all throughout, not only at the end of beating the game but also in between levels and stuff like that. But it seems like more and more it's sneaking throughout the gameplay and the item descriptions and like all that stuff as well.
Yeah. And I mean, it's fun. That's all I can really say. Like,
no, totally.
It's super fun for me, and I mean, really, a lot. The final update in the booster packs in general kind of came from a place of, you know, Afterbirth Plus was developed at a time where I wasn't very available to develop, and it was kind of like it was a fucked up situation, and a lot of stuff in my personal life, I just wasn't able to kind of be there to, you know, guide things as much as I wanted to.
Sure.
And then after the fact, I thought, you know, well, I can slowly pick up some of the pieces and really fix things up and tune things as we go, and then maybe conclude with something extra that could, you know, kind of, I don't want to say right any wrongs, because I don't think it was a complete disaster, but it definitely wasn't. I just wish I was there more.
Yeah. Which again, obviously you've got a lot of things going on, and you've got a lot of things coming up in the future, obviously with Bumbo on the horizon, I guess, this year. Have you guys confirmed for this year? Yeah, for sure. That's got to come out this year. And this is right, exactly. And this is more Isaac. I mean, it's you returning to Isaac again.
Yeah, Bumbo is great too when it comes to exploring themes, because when working with James, you look at the similarities that you have with the person that you're working with. That's how I work. When I'm working with any programmer, I want to buddy up with them and explore who they are and where our similarities lie, and then kind of try to utilize that in a way that makes sense. So like with like Meat Boy and stuff, it was easy for me to like connect me and Tommy's sense of humor, and then ride that. Like it was really easy for me to put those two together and kind of explore that. So it felt like, you know, you've got somebody else there to kind of check it as you go. It just makes things more valid. Yeah. And with James, the thing that I think we have in common outside of, you know, movies and being weirdos, is that we had difficult childhoods, and it was appropriate to the story to explore kind of elements that feel true to us. So like a lot of the stuff in Bumbo really is reminiscent of being poor but being a creative kid still. So you had to kind of utilize what you had around you, and making cardboard spaceships, and cardboard boxes are a huge theme in almost all of the games, and now it's really like looped back in on itself, and it's a game within a cardboard box, and it really spoke to James, so it felt so appropriate to kind of explore the what happened before, like
Sure.
kind of elements of Isaac, and
Do you feel like it has like more of a sweetness to it than Isaac does? Like more innocence?
yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. Because it would be appropriately more innocent, but there's of course a darkness there.
Of course.
Like I don't want to break any fourth wall, so I don't want to.
No,
but
totally.
it is what it is, and I definitely would call it a thematic prequel to the Binding of Isaac. It definitely happened before, and is in the world.
Right. So it's not even a thematic prequel. It's a legit prequel, right?
I guess, but I mean, do people do prequels that are completely different genres?
Yeah, maybe. Sure.
I don't know. Like I don't want to. Like I'm sure that people that like Isaac will like Bumbo, but it's not gonna. It's a strategy game. It's not. It's not. It's a totally different type of experience, and it's more relaxed and more of a I guess like a thinker's game than a run and gun type situation.
In terms of the gameplay specifically, like what is the closest comparison in terms of like other games you've worked on?
No, there's not a
right.
comparison.
I was going to say, like, it seems like a pretty major departure for you. You've always been, action oriented, or certainly fast moving and like real time. Yeah. And
I've tried to do like turn-based strategy stuff in the past, but turn-based strategy it's difficult to balance.
Sure.
But I think for me, the hardest element is that it can be boring.
Yeah.
Because designing a turn-based strategy game, you don't at all get the instant gratification of throwing yourself into something action-oriented. It's like, it's just not fun. Mm-hmm. Like it's fun when you know nothing about it and you go in and all the pieces are working in order and everything else. But when you work for multiple years on a project like this, it's definitely more difficult to instantly see the fun, because you're literally working with, a chess-like formula. And it's like, I don't think the guy who's designed chess was just having a grand old time, like with testing all these things and figuring all the stuff out. Yet it's still an amazing game. It's just it can be difficult. It's just not as the feedback isn't instant, and having not explored this genre that much in the past at all has made it, you want to try to. The hardest part when it came to Bumbo and what we really were doing for the first year of development was trying to not go against the grain so much, because I wanted to make this, this strategic game that felt very rigid, but also had a core mechanic which was kind of like almost a Bejeweled game.
Sure.
And I was going all these different directions with it, and I was making it overly complicated and doing things that you wouldn't traditionally do in a Bejeweled game. And that was a mistake. Like, it's like once there's a universal language set up for a type of game, and you go against the grain with that, you're going to get people that are just going to be frustrated, or they're just not going to understand it. It reminded me of there was a game I worked on in the past called Hitler's Must Die, and it was a physics-based shooter. And one of the first things that we did with it, since it was physics-based, we wanted to make it logical, where if you held the jump button, you would bend your knees, and when you released it, you would jump. And that seemed great on paper, and it seemed to make sense because that's how people jump. But once you handed a controller to somebody, it was a disaster.
Right.
It's like no one wants to do that. Like,
sounds like QWOP, honestly. It sounds like a Foddy game.
Yeah. It was wrong in every way. So it was kind of like that. You learn as you go, and you try to figure out what you start out with something that's super complicated, and you whittle it down into this really finely tuned little machine. And I'm quite happy with where it is now. I'm still tuning it. So Yeah, it'll be a big achievement for me to release it because I haven't released anything like it, and I hope people dig it. And yeah, I'm definitely happy with the visuals. It's probably my most striking visually. It's my first 3D game.
Yeah, I mean, it's stunning. It is interesting to see, obviously your aesthetic, but transported in like that mix of 2D and 3D using the cardboard stuff is really remarkable. It really like pops.
The best part is that I get to draw like a 3-year-old, and then James has to take weeks taking those drawings and modeling them in 3D and putting them on actual 3D pieces of cardboard, and then animating them. It makes my life easy. I get to take all the credit.
You've got a 3-year-old in the house. You could just pass it over, right?
Yeah.
That's okay.
I've worked my whole life on trying to draw like a functional 5-year-old that's like a genius. Like with a great understanding of like proportion and anatomy, but still very loose. And yeah, it's my styles. I need to do something with it eventually, or it's just gonna turn into just circles with 2 eyes and then a mouth in between with well, that actually doesn't sound like a bad idea.
Yeah, there you go. Pretty good. It's awesome to see you sort of returning to Isaac and with Bumbo and with the booster packs and stuff like that, and I think it's really encouraging and will be encouraging for people that like again, I can hear the passion in your voice for the franchise itself. So it seems like things moving forward, especially for fans that love your style and love Isaac and love your game design and storytelling mechanics, it seems like they're going to have a lot to keep an eye on in the coming years, I guess.
Sure. as much as they'll I can't it's a piece of me. Like it's such an honest chunk of my life, which sounds so strange because it's like also not, because it's not literal, but there's just so much there. Like I was literally watching a video, it was a Dante's Inferno like silent movie from like the 30s or something, and there was this shot of Satan frozen in the ice eating somebody, and it was like such a cool striking image, and it was like totally do that. I'm gonna totally do that in the future. Like that's gonna definitely happen. Like there's just so much there. There's just so much cool stuff, and you just kind of, as an artist, you just open up and you allow life and time to just kind of inspire things. I mean, that's usually my best projects are like that. Like The End Is Nigh was like that. It was just like shitty situation. Mm-hmm. It was like how do I write about an awful situation, like and how do you take that and like turn that into something that can be enjoyed,
right? It's something that's watchable and not
that was something that's horribly difficult. Like it was so difficult to do but so fun, and that's, I mean, The End Is Nigh is another one that I think that speaks so honestly about things for me that it's like I love making platformers, of course. So sure. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if I do make another platformer, if I just feel compelled and be like, you got to make another platformer. I got to do it.
Yeah, it does seem like you lean on the tougher themes. Like you don't just that seems like what's in you. Is that fair to say? Is like you are just drawn to kind of hardship and finding a way out of it?
Yeah, and I think as a young kid, I kind of learned to express myself even abstractly to myself. Like I would find old comics that I did when I was like 14, 15, 16 years old that were really like angsty, really angry and cruel. And like I would read through them and I'd be like, oh, I totally didn't understand what I was talking about or what I was feeling at that point in time. But now I know, like now I can see where I'm at. And I think, art in general has always been very therapeutic and honest to me. Sure. It's like, it's the one place where I can, I mean, I tried to write poetry as a teenager, and it was like horrid, like the most embarrassing shit you could ever imagine. And I found over the years that I can write poetry through, video games, and I can express myself in a way that people don't get, and they don't get enough to make it embarrassing,
right?
If that makes sense. It's like,
there's a somewhat of a wall, but you're still getting that catharsis that you're
I feel like it's very similar to how people write music. I mean, I've always said that, and I honestly feel that way. Like, I feel like I write video games in the same way a song would be written, or an album, and where there's a personal thing that's being said, and it's coming out abstractly, and it's still felt through the music, but not necessarily needed for you to enjoy it.
Yeah.
Like, you don't need to know what the person was going through when they wrote that song to really appreciate how good the song is. Like, and the meaning takes different forms for different people. It's a great way to kind of do things, because it allows for people to kind of take what you put in and attach themselves to different parts, because it's not so specific.
Really appreciate you taking the time.
No problem.